Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 207, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week and everything in between. So let's get started. We have 19 books this week, so a pretty average week for me, and number 19 is Venomverse War Stories issue 1, which just wasn't worth the $4.99 price tag. It's all these one-shot storylines, kind of like what you got with Edge of Venomverse of how about Punisher became Venom? How about if Captain America became Venom? And you get that story. So definitely not necessary unless you want everything Venomverse. I picked it up because I am getting everything Venomverse. But definitely not a necessary story. And nothing really hooked me here. So I gave this 2 stars. And that was number 19. Moving on to number 18, which is Kingsman The Red Diamond issue 1. And this kind of proves my point of some Millar books work better as movies than comics, which is weird to say. Usually the comic / book is better than the movie, but I actually like Kick-Ass the movie more than I did the comic, and same thing for Kingsman. And I thought this would be more new reader friendly than it was. I have the first volume of Secret Service, but I actually haven't read it, so I thought this you'd be able to jump in as Gold Circle is getting into theaters, so I thought this would be more of a jumping on point, but it wasn't. But I did like kind of the social class. We get to see how obviously Eggsy is becoming a gentleman and his lifestyle has changed, and how does that affect the people he knew and his family. I like that, but I feel like the action kind of fell flat here. The artwork was a bit too simple for me, so I probably won't pick up issue 2, but I'm glad I gave issue 1 a try. I definitely will be seeing the movies, so I'm giving this one 2.5 stars. That's number 18. Moving on to number 17. Sad to see this so low, and that is Generations, Ironheart, and Iron Man. So overall, I really like most of the Generation titles, especially Wolverine, Hawkeye, and Jean Grey. I really like those 3. Hulk was okay, and now this one was probably worse than Hulk. With this, we get to see, I did like the originality of this book, where we get to see Riri, instead of going to the past, goes to the future. She sees Sorcerer Supreme Tony Stark and the next Avengers, which was interesting. I don't know if there's any hardcore Next Avengers fans out there, but I guess it was cool that they were in it. It definitely surprised me. And we get to see Riri sees her future a little bit, that she's awesome, and everyone in the world knows her. Everyone in the galaxy knows her. So she has a good life, ahead of her, and she interacts with Tony. Problem here is, though, it doesn't really connect to Invincible Iron Man at all. The other Generation titles, I think, does better at least kind of connecting to the current storyline or having a purpose of making these 2 characters interact for, again, character reasons. Here it's very similar to the interaction we already get with Invincible Iron Man, so I don't know if it's worth that $4.99 price tag of, again, interactions that we kind of already get between hologram Tony Stark and Riri. Just the difference, she can hug him this time. So Iron Man, Ironheart, I kind of wish there was just more of a purpose to the issue and kind of connected to the story a bit more, but if you're a hardcore Riri fan, I say pick it up. But other than that, I don't think this is the most necessary Generations issue, so I gave this one 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 16, which is Spider-Man issue 20, which also had a misleading cover, because that didn't happen in the story. But once again, I just feel like Spider-Man doesn't really have a direction at all. I liked Ganke and Miles' interaction and their, bromance throughout the issue, but other than that, it's really repetitive of things we've already seen, and Miles goes to Tokyo. That's kind of all that happens in the issue. So, still a slow burn series after 20 issues. But this I gave 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 15, which is Star Wars Adventures issue 1, which is solid. I say if you have kids, you like Star Wars, pick this up. I don't know if it's so totally necessary, though. I felt like the secondary story with Obi-Wan wasn't as interesting as the Rey story, but that's also because I have more of a fandom towards the Force Awakens trilogy than Obi-Wan story. But it's fun. I don't know if I'll get the next issue printed. I probably will try the next issue digitally, but I don't know if there's completely a hook for me to get more. But if you're looking for all ages story for Star Wars, then pick this one up. And I gave this one 3 stars. Also a little pricey for $3.99. I feel like this could have been a $2.99 book. Moving on to number 14, which is Superman issue 30. and this just still feels a bit like a filler to me. If you're a huge Sinestro fan / Green Lantern fan, pick this one up. I think it's fun for Sinestro fans. But other than that, it's a bit forgettable for me. I like that Superman overcame fear and all that. It was interesting to see some of the visions, but there just wasn't a hook for me. And again, it just kind of felt forgettable. So Superman issue 30 gets 3 stars. But I did like the artwork a bit better for this story than some of the other artwork we've been getting. The more inked artwork. An emo-looking Superman. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is Star Wars Captain Phasma issue 1, which storyline, the narrative kind of confused me because it's an unreliable narrative. Her logs are unreliable, so I wanted a little bit more of Captain Phasma herself, and that's why I couldn't connect to this issue as much as I wanted to. I will be getting more and seeing where it goes, but I want more of Captain Phasma's personality. It's more of this, you know, military trained, all right, point 1, point A, point B, to get Lieutenant, I think his name is Raz. That's kind of the story in her, what she did between the shields going down and, you know, all the ending of The Force Awakens. What was Captain Phasma up to when she put those shields down? And that's kind of the storyline, and her retracing her steps and covering her steps. So it's interesting, but I wanted a bit more from her character. I love the artwork though. That's why it's a bit higher. The artwork is so gorgeous. I love the coloring, the blues, the action was so good here. So definitely we'll be picking up the next issue though. So Captain Phasma issue 1 gets 3 stars. Now moving on to number 12. Which is Motor Crush issue 6. It looked like 8 the way I wrote it, but issue 6. I like this issue. It's more of a interlude issue where we get to see a flashback of our main character's father and obviously how much he cares about her to try to get this medicine and what line he will cross for his daughter, which I thought was very interesting. But yeah, it's a good issue. Again, it's one of those things where, hey, Motor Crush hasn't been around for a couple of months, let's give him a story before jumping into the main story again, which was appreciative, but obviously is not the main storyline. So I give this one 3.5 stars, still a fun issue, and interesting to learn more about our main character's father. Moving on to number 11, which is Green Lanterns issue 30. In this issue, I didn't love the cartoonier art style that we got here. I like the more realistic art we've been getting. But overall, I thought this was a good issue for Baz. We get to see him with multiple Green Lantern rings by the end, so I want to see how that works out. And also Jessica just pushing through to try to teach these Green Lanterns what to do with Voltron, or that's definitely not his name, Voltron? How do you pronounce his name? Like Voltron. Totally pronouncing it wrong. But anyways, the first Lantern, they're trying to defeat him, and yeah, it's still cool to see Jessica and Baz and how much they've overcome and how much they've grown as characters, but there's definitely slower parts where I'm like, alright, get to the chase, we get it, you gotta defeat the first Lantern. So, it's just that this arc has been going on for a while. But Green Lanterns issue 30, I still had a fun time with Baz, especially with this one, so I give this one 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 10, which is Darth Vader issue 5. I love the cover for this one too. I read this digitally, but the cover was gorgeous. But I like this one. It's Darth Vader, you know, you're still feeling the Revenge of the Sith Darth Vader. You still see maybe there's some goodness in him, but then he's like, nah, I'm not good. And it's cool his interaction with his mentor, you know, the Emperor. So I like that. I thought that was cool. Yeah, it's just a really nice action issue, and if you like Darth Vader, I think you're gonna really enjoy this one. It's a really fun series. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. Very action-packed. Moving on to number 9, which is X-Men Gold issue 11. So this issue, I like this arc overall. I enjoyed them going to Russia and them dealing with Colossus's and Illyana's family. Wanted a little bit more from Illyana, but I like the little joke and note that Kitty makes. Like, yeah, Illyana's not so happy that Colossus, you know, her brother saved her, but she's mending. And I love the ending with Kitty and Colossus. I'm glad that they're together again. I think their relationship is working a bit more than it has in the past. But it was good. You know, it's kind of a filler arc in a way, but I think it was a good filler arc for Colossus's character. He needed it, and it was a fun team-up issue. So X-Men Gold issue 11 gets 3.5 stars, and also think the artwork's improving a bit. Still don't love the kind of yellowish coloring. I get it's called gold, but it doesn't always work for the issue. But I like the artwork a bit more. I think it's more solid. Moving on to number 8, which is Venomverse issue 1. So yes, War Stories was last, but Venomverse actually was pretty good. If you shut off your mind, and this is mindless fun. I like that it's Eddie Brock meeting up with all these Venoms and him not trusting anybody, but he has to if he wants to survive. And by the end, you get to see Peter Parker Venom that's kind of looking like an anti-Venom fighting against Eddie Brock. So that was a fun ending. A fun cliffhanger, and it's just an action-packed issue. Again, it was fun. It's mindless, and I hope it continues to be this, and then I think it'll be a solid event. So Venomverse issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 7, I believe we're up to. Yes. Number 7 is Jessica Jones, issue 12. And I had a fun time with this. I really like the story arc of Jessica Jones, and I think so far, you know, usually Brian Michael Bendis, because he does so many titles, he has one good title, then all the other ones he's trying to juggle. And I think this time it's Jessica Jones that is his good title right now. And I really like this. I love the interaction between Maria Hill and Jessica. I like Jessica's interaction with her family a bit more here. And then learning exactly what happened to Maria Hill was interesting with all the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. So, and how many lines she had to cross as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and why she wanted to forget things. And then the ending, we go into our Purple Man storyline, which kind of felt thrown in there, but still, it should be interesting to see what this is going to look like. So Jessica Jones, issue 12 for me, gets 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I like the art. Love Jessica's voice here, and I really like her dynamic with Maria Hill. Moving on to number 6, which is Batman issue 30. Batman, I didn't expect to like this issue as much as I did, because it was an interlude. I'm like, oh, you know, this is already kind of a filler arc. Do we need an interlude of the filler arc? And in a way we did, because it's the story of Kite Man. And I love the narration between him and his father, where his father's like, yeah, I'm a joke, but you kind of have to just laugh at yourself. And that's, you know, you always have to keep getting up. So that's why Kite Man's okay with being the joke villain. And it makes total sense with a story arc that's due with jokes, with riddles and jokes. So it was a cool, very well structured issue, as Tom King always does really creative structures with his script. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It's Kite Man. Who knew? But I like this as a one-shot issue. Still feel like this arc is going for a little while. I do want this arc to end soon, but I did like this as a one-shot issue, like I said. So Batman issue 30 gets a solid 4 stars, and as number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Outcast issue 30, which I thought was a pretty well progressed issue where we learn a little bit more about the new Outcast and her connection to our main characters, to Amber, who's the daughter, and how when they come together, we get to see their light shine more. We get to see them become stronger. And then you get to see the family also deal with, hey, do we want this stranger being in our house? So there's some fun interactions with that. And we also learn a bit more about one of the new villains popping up into the story. That was cool too. So overall, I thought the progression was really well done here. And always, the artwork is very good and really fits the tone of this book well. So overall, I gave this issue 4 stars, and hopefully Outcast continues this pace. But I think the next issue actually comes out in October, so we have to wait a little longer. Which, no, we don't. It's September already. Never mind. I was like, oh yeah, it comes out in October. It's already September. Don't know what I was thinking. Anyways, moving on to number 4, which is World Reader issue 6. So this is sadly the last issue of World Reader, but I really like the ending. I think it fits the tone of this existentialist theme that they were going for, and it's our main character going face to face with their version of God, and how God is not this perfect being, you know, everyone thought he was. And it's a really interesting interaction where our main character is like, hey, I know you're afraid, but let's do this together. Let's go into the unknown. So again, it's a really interesting story about life and death, and it's just a really well done character story. I'm upset that it's over, but I think it was a really well done ending, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more from World Reader in the future. So World Reader issue 6 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Injustice 2, issue 9. I just had a fun time with this. I love what Tom Taylor's been doing with Injustice. I love Barbara taking charge. That was fun. I really like that plane scene where they have to figure out how do we get Barbara Gordon safely on the ground. And it's also Barbara putting Jaime in his place, saying, hey, I'm the leader here. If you don't want to die, listen to me. Love that scene. Just a lot of good Barbara moments here. But also you get some interesting Animal Man moments. You get to see the other side of what's going on with Superman's team, so it's not just Batman's team here. But yeah, just a lot of great character moments that I enjoyed throughout the story. So good stuff. I wonder how our team's going to get out of Superman's team's plan, because they look like they're a bit trapped as they try to save the children. But a really solid issue here. Love the artwork as always here too. So Justice 2 issue 9 gets 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Deathstroke issue 23. I've been loving the direction of this book, and I love this cover. This is close to me, my cover of the week. But yeah, I really like the pacing of this book too, where we get to see a lot of nice story developing here. Rose's, weird connection to her father. She just doesn't know who to trust, and she has no one in her life to trust. And it's hard. She's playing tug of war. She's like, who do I go to? And this is not the days where she actually has real Teen Titans that she could go to, which, was a very fun arc for her. She just doesn't have anyone, and maybe this team will help her out, I don't know, but really interesting dynamic between her and Deathstroke. I love the sword moment of him talking about, well, this is not even your culture's sword. And also you get this interesting story of, like, who is this person from the future that had her name on it? So there's this interesting mystery. But as we deal with daddy-daughter time, we also deal with mommy-son time, where we get to see Jericho interact with his mom. And I like the whole conversation about his sexuality, about, his fiance dying. So a lot of interesting drama building, but also a mystery building too, with gorgeous artwork, some great action between Rose and Deathstroke, where Rose just wants to kill her father. So that was interesting. Some really good story here. So I really enjoyed it. Deathstroke issue 23 gets 4.5 stars, and that's my number 2 pick. Moving on to my number 1, which was Hawkeye issue 10. Really enjoyed this issue, where we get to see Madame Mask pretending to be Kate for most of the issue, and by the end, Kate, we find out, is kidnapped, and she easily is able to get out, and she comes face to face with her father and asks the big question, did you kill my mother? And, obviously that's a really traumatic scene of asking your father, did you kill my mother? Really good stuff here. But I also like, the artwork and scripting of showing Madame Mask as Kate. So Madame Mask, she has these, I guess, longer bangs, a bit edgier look, more makeup she's wearing, kissing and making out with all of Kate's friends, which was fun. But also her not wanting to be the hero, but being forced to be the hero. So a lot of fun stuff in the beginning there. But again, a lot of good action by the end, where we get to see real Kate and some good humor between her and Lucky. But then that emotional ending with her and her father. Some really good balance here, because you got action, you got fun, you got emotion, everything you really want here. So Hawkeye issue 10 is my pick of the week, and that is number 1, and I gave that 4.5 stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Of course, I'll have a new episode next week. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links to my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.